Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to start by apologizing for the delay in bringing the part B of this video, like I promised in the video I posted recently about how to cut and draft out this top that I'm lacing. So I promised to bring the part B and I couldn't meet up with my promise on time because I had issues with my laptop and I needed to get it fixed, so I was able to extract it and I brought out this video this late, so I'm sorry for that. So having said that, this is a continuation to part A like I earlier said, and if you're yet to watch the part A where we did the drafting and the cutting out of the patterns to give us the results that you're seeing on the screen right now, I would advise that you go check that video. And to make it easier, I'll be leaving a link to that effect in the description, so make sure to check the description for the link to the part A of this video. Having said that, if you like what you're seeing and you would love to recreate them and recreate subsequent styles, do well to hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell icon so you are notified. So without wasting one more minute, let's get to the video. So this is what we have right now. You can see the different pieces. This is for the back, the different pieces for the back, and this is the different pieces for the front. So these are the pieces of the corpse, right? So I had gone ahead to layer it with an ST. I won't be using a lining for this tutorial, but you can use a lining for yours. So I'm going to be separating the back from the front right now. This is for the front. I'm going to be removing the pattern papers. Currently we do not need the pattern papers. Then I would go ahead to align each of the pieces together. At this point you want to be careful so that you do not misplace it. Sometimes you might think, okay, it's easy to identify. Just going to align them together. This is for the front, and then I'm going to be laying them on each other. So this piece will go on top of the other piece, and this last piece also will go on this one. So if I'm to name it, this will be the center front going to the middle front, side front going onto the middle front. Yes. Dividing it into two, this is what it looks like. Then I'm going to sew all the way down. I'm going to do the same for the second part of the front piece, and then I'm going to join it together at the middle part of it like this. That's the center front. I'm going to be joining the piece together. And then for the back also, I'm going to be layering the different piece together. This is the part of the eyelets, and then this is the middle back, this is the side back, right? So I'm also going to align them together separately, the middle back and the center back. Yes, this is the center back, the middle back, and the side back. I'm also going to be placing them on each other, the side back to the middle back, then the center back to the middle back. The same thing, the center back to the middle back, and then the side back on the middle back. Yes, so after aligning them as well, I'm going to be sewing down, stitching down on them, and then I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like afterwards. The back and the front piece together has been carefully joined. This is the front, this is the two piece of the back, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to open them and iron. First of all, I am going to lay them flat and iron it first of all before I tell us what else to do. So I'll iron it on this part, and then I'll turn it to the right side and iron it as well. After ironing it open, I'm going to lay it on one side and iron as well. But first of all, I'll iron it open before I lay it to one side and iron it. So I'm going to do all of that for all of the parts that are joined together, right? The back and the front. So after everything, this is what it looks like. I had ironed them flat, and then I ironed them to one side as well, right? So after ironing it flat, ironing the seam flat, I hold also the two seams together and I iron it to a particular direction. I did that for the front and the two pieces of the back. So I'm going to be starting with the back. So after ironing everything together, so this is going to be the part where the lacing is going to be seated, the lacing bar. This is for the lacing bar, right? So afterwards, I iron them to the left side of the fabric, and also I iron the other side to the right side of the fabric. So what I'm going to do next is to open the seams, right? I'm going to open the seams, and then I'm going to be trimming down one of the seams like this. This is to create our boning channels. So we do not want a very bulky and a thick boning channel, so that's why we are cutting one side of the seam allowance, right? We're cutting one part of the seam to make sure that the second one that we left uncut, it's faint enough to carry our bones. Because if we don't cut this one of the seams, it's going to be a very thick and a bulky bone casing, so we do not want that. That's why we are trimming off one of the seam. I'm going to be doing that for the other seam as well, so that after joining them we can pass our seams through. Meanwhile, there are different ways we can make boning channels. This is one of the many ways we can make different boning channels. So I did the same for the front. Every piece on the front we did the same. So you might be wondering, why is the middle part of the front not cut as well? It is because I'm going to be putting two bonings on the middle part of it, so I'm going to be making two boning channels. So the next thing I'm going to be doing at this point, you want to be very careful so that you don't lay the wrong piece of fabric on the wrong side. So I'm going to go ahead and just join it and use the seam allowance that you added while you were cutting it to join it together, the back and the front together. So this pin is just to hold it down. Stitch on this part, stitch on this part. Then I will trim off if I want to trim off. This is what we have afterwards. And you can see that I made some lacing bars, some loops for a lacing bar, right? So I'm going to be describing what I did with the first one. So what I did was on the regilling bone, I marked, I could call it 7/8, or you can use 1 inch. It depends on how wide you want your loops to be, but I use 7/8. 7/8 is the 7th line from the starting point of your ruler, of your measuring tape, sorry. So you count 7 dots, 7 lines. So on the 7th line, that's 7/8. So I marked 7/8 from the beginning of the regilling bones until the end of the regilling bones. You can use 1 inches, but half inches is very small. It is very, very narrow to use them, half of an inch.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm marking the 7/8 all along on the regilling bone.
I'm going to be cutting 2-inch length of this loop. I'm going to be using this as my loop. So what am I using as my loop? I had to fold my bias. You know how bias has that double fold at the double end, at the edge of it. So I just folded it together and then I made it into this loop. So I'm cutting 2-inch long. And after this 2-inch, just watch how I use that to form my loop. This can be very tricky, so I'll just love you to watch attentively and pay close attention. So I'm going to be using the marks on the regilling bone to also mark all of the points on my fabric, on my dress, right? So instead of using my tape to still do all of the markings on the fabric, because I already have the marks on my regilling bone, I'm just going to go ahead and mark that on the fabric. So after marking, I just marked just a few of them. I'm just going to illustrate. So there are different ways you can do it. Watch carefully. So I already ironed the regilling bone. That's why you can see it straight. You will never find regilling bone this straight. So I'm going to place it on the first mark, and the 2-inch loop is going to end on the second mark, like what I did here, right? So after laying everything like this, I also cut out this strap, and then I folded one end of the this little piece as well. So I'm going to be laying it, and then after sewing it, I'm going to be doing a turnover. After stitching this way, I'm going to be doing a turnover. But this is what I'm going to be doing. When I lay this little piece on the loops that I've already pinned down, I would place the little piece on those loops. Then I'm going to be carrying the regilling bones and then place on the little piece that I just got like this. Just watch what I'm doing if you're finding this confusing. I think by watching it, you would understand what I'm trying to say. After that, I just flip it to the other side, right? So that the regilling bone is invisible, meaning it is hidden. You can't find the regilling bone. But then there's a structure. That's why after the loops, you place your piece and then you place your regilling bones, and then you sew on the first line. You sew on the first line of the regilling bone, the first edge of it. So from the top to the bottom, right? And then you sew on the second line as well. After sewing on the regilling bone on both sides of the regilling bone, placed on the loops. I don't know if I'm confusing you, but please, if I'm confusing you, please do me well by just looking at what the description is doing in the video. So that is what I'm going to be doing at the second part of this. So I'm going to, we already marked 7/8 on our fabric. So I'm going to place, look at how I am placing my loops. It is facing the main body of the fabric, right? If you place it this way, you are very, very wrong, because it means the edge of the loop is going to be very visible. It's going to be very rough outside. You want the edge of the loops to be hidden inside, so you place it this way, right? So I'm going to be pinning. Remember the marks we made on the fabric on our dress, 7/8. That is what I'm going to be marking all along. So the next edge ends on the 7/8 on that point. The beginning of 7/8 had the one edge of the loop, and then the end of that 7/8 measurement took out the next edge. I don't know if I'm confusing you, but please. Then the next one begins exactly where the last loop stops. The next one begins from there, and then pin it down, and then take the loop to the end of the 7/8 mark that we did. Again, 7/8 is not like a standard measurement. You can use 1 inch, but except you want your loops to be very wide, then you use 1.5. But I don't encourage that. I encourage 7/8 and maximum 1 inch. That's not a standard measurement though, but I feel that is like the perfect a measurement if you're making your loops, if you're not using eyelets. Okay, so after making your loops, I had to leave extra 7/8 for the edge because I'm going to be cleaning the edge up. Then I'll also leave half of an inch downwards. You either leave half of an inch upward and 5 of an inch downward, or you leave 7/8 upward and 7/8 downward for the cleaning with bias, right? So I have gone ahead to stitch on one side of the regling bone, on the two sides, sorry. So I removed the pins that have been holding the loops. I sew on the two sides of the bones, right? So I'm going to be flipping it. Just watch me at this point. I'm going to be, I folded one edge of this piece, this little piece, so I'm going to be flipping it this way, fold it double and flip over like this. Can you see? Yes, this is what I'm going to be doing. Then I'm going to be sewing all along again. It's that simple, guys. So this is what we have afterwards. So I've joined the two sides of the loop, so this is very firm right now. The first one and the second one, there is a structure already to it, so it is already very lovely, very beautiful, right? So I'm just going to be looping. That's the next thing that should happen to that side because it's already done. Okay, so over to the loop side. So I'm going to be making two boning channels on the middle part of this side, right? So I'm going to be attaching two bonings there. And for the bone casing that we trimmed one and left one, I'm going to be using this size of boning. This is like the second to the smallest. I didn't do this measurement, but then I'm just going to be laying it on the provision that we made as the bone casing, just to be sure of how much we're supposed to sew, how much we're supposed to close to create allowance for our bonings to pass through. Do you understand? Yes. So I'm going to be closing that right now. I'm not using something external to make a boning channels. I am using the extra allowance. So if you see these plastic bones, the dress takes the direction, the shape of the bone. So I've already gone ahead to create the bone channels, and what I did was the other part that I trimmed and left, I just held it down with needle, and it made it a channel. So right now I also cut out the different pieces of the bones that I needed, and I numbered them because I have different channels to attach them. So I numbered them. So from the middle part is number 1, next to the middle is number 2, number 1. I have two number 1s, I have 2 2, I have 2 3, and then like that. That is how I was able to number the bonings. I measured it before I numbered it. So number 2 goes to number 2. So just do whatever works for you. So you can see that I already closed the boning channel. So we already have a boning channels to attach our bonings to, and I already know what number is going to what channel that I created, right? So before that, we have to make our cups ready. These are the different pieces of our cups, and then I also went ahead to layer the fabric on the pad that I'm going to be using for the cups. So what I did was I added I added helmet gun to the pad, and then I brought in my fabric and I placed on it, ironed it, and then I got it glued to the pad. So these are the different pieces. Be careful not to remove the patterns quickly, if not you're going to be missing the which pattern goes with which. Like right now I am trying to think not to make any errors. So I cut a piece of the fabric that is going to serve as the main piece that's going to be visible outside, and the part that I gummed or glued to the pad is going to be the one that will serve as the lining or the inner, right? So I'm taking my time. It is confusing at this point because I kind of arranged the patterns, so I got it. So I'm just going to be pinning this one, the fabric. I'm going to be pinning the fabric and sew this way. After sewing, I'm going to join this upper part of it and clean it up, close it up as well. But for this pads, I am going to be using a zigzag stitch, so I cut this one without extra allowance. After, I'm going to use zigzag stitch to join the 3 pieces together. So this is what it looks like, the pad, and this is the lining. You can see the pad, this is the lining with zigzag stitch for the pad. So I ironed it. I also ironed this one after the zigzag stitch. So this is what it looks like, guys. Isn't it beautiful? This is what it looks like right now. So what I did was I laid it on my breast ham, and then I ironed it round about, just to give it some nice curve, just to cup enough to house the bust, and then I used my hand to gently and smoothly rub it around. I also did the same thing for the fabric that's going to be visible outward. So afterwards, I'm just going to trim off the excess seam allowance on this piece. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing the fabric on the padded on the cup, right? So identify which one is going to sit at the middle and which one is going close to the armhole, so that you do not miss the two together. So before then, I was supposed to add up like my strap. So I am measuring to see where the strap is going to start from and where the strap is going to end. At this point, use your personal preference. You might like that yours is very close to the middle, your strap is very close to the middle, or you would like that it's very close to the armhole. So at this point, just do whatever works for you, as long as you're comfortable in it. That's fashion, right? As long as it makes you comfortable, you are not uncomfortable, by all means, please go ahead. So I marked it at this point. This is where the strap is going to be starting from. And just watch how I place the strap, okay? This is how I place the strap. Pin it down. And then I'm going to take the pad and then see how I am placing it. See, this is the right side, right? This is the wrong side, okay? So I'm going to be placing it right side to right side, okay? And then I'll pin it. So I'm going to be sewing. Consider I left ½ inch allowance for the sewing of this part, so I'm going to be sewing it on this ½ inch allowance. And before then, I was supposed to add this other strap at the back. So that was what I was supposed to do before adding the bias, to clean up the top of the dress. So I'm going to be adding this bias. So you should also measure at what point you want that strap to be at. So this is the hemline, the seam line, the same part. So I just went out by 2.5 inch from that point, no, 3 inches actually, from that point. Then I put in my strap. So look, be careful how you add your straps. Just make sure that you are adding it the right way, okay? Then afterwards, I can now confidently put my bias to clean up the edges. So this was what I should have done since then I forgot, it skipped my mind. So just sew after, then flip it over and sew, right? So that is that. The next thing, I'm going to be attaching the cups that are already built. The cups have been dressed already. They are ready to be fixed to the body of our top, right? So this is one side of it. Wow, this is lovely. This is the second part of it. Very lovely, right? Yes. So I am going to go ahead and just join it to the body. So this is how I like to join my cups to the body of my corset top or corset dress. I started from one edge and I come to the second edge, and then I start it all over. So this is what I'm trying to say, okay? So I'm just going to pin it for a start, right? And then I will come to the beginning there, and then I start sewing, knowing that something is pinning it down for me at the very beginning. You can see how I flipped it, right? So I'm going to just be sewing like that. As you're sewing, be adjusting the dress underneath, or be adjusting the cups. So that is how I add my cup to the body of my corset top or corset gown, whatever whatever style of corset I'm making. This is what it looks like afterward. This is beautiful. You can see that there's a difference in the finishing between these two cups. One has been neatly finished, the other is still a little bit rough on the edge. So the rough one on the edge, I'm going to be teaching you how to clean it up like this one. This one beautifully cleaned up and all of that. So I'm going to be teaching you. So what I did was I got a bias like this, and then started it from the very beginning of the cup, of where we started joining the cup. Then I stitched all around to the end. After then I flipped it over, and boom, you've gotten your on the cup cleaned. Cleaned. There are two ways I do it. The first one is I either match it down with the sewing machine, then I sew it, and then you can see it visibly on the right side of your corset. But I don't like that part, and I usually do not do that type all the time. So the one I do is this style. That's the one I do. So once you're done cleaning the top, this should be what you have. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to attach our bonings, right? So I'm going to be attaching my bonings at this time, so that the bonings will be pushing the cups to give your bust that push-up effect, right? If you don't like that, well, you can skip that part, but I like that it will give you that push-up effect. So go ahead and just finish up with the under bust or the under part of this cups
with our bias. You can see that it's looking all neat. Right now, the next thing we should do is to add our bonings to the boning channels that we created. This is what I would say before I forget. If the length of the boning you need per each boning case is like, for instance, 5 inches, you should cut 4 inches. Half of an inch should be for the underneath, where you're going to be closing up after you are done the hemline, and the other half is meant to be for the beginning, where you are going to be also cleaning it up. So you do not want your needle interfering with the bones, because that would break your bones, right? So I'm going to be inserting the bones right now. So make sure that the channel you created for it is not too wide, and because if it's too wide, it will be shifting in the dress. And make sure it is not so tight. If it is so tight, it could perforate, it could pierce the dress. It is plastic, you know, so it would always find a way to just come out somewhere, somehow. So make sure that it is the exact size of the bones that you are going to create for it. So this is what the bone is making the fabric to look like. So the next thing we're going to be doing is to close the hemline with our bias. So this is the reason I said, if your bone channel can take 7 inches length of bone, make sure you are cutting 6 inches at, or 6.5 minimum. You shouldn't cut anything less than or anything really more than, except 6 inches, for instance. So after that, I'll be showing you what the whole thing looks like at the end of the day. So guys, if you watched to this part of this video, I want to say a very big thank you to you. Thank you for checking by my channel. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check in my channel for other videos that you might be interested in. If you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please do me the favor, subscribe, turn on the bell icon so that you are notified every time I post a new video, because I'm working on posting regularly at this time. Thank you guys. Don't get tired of me. It's not like I love to complain so much, but yes, you see more of me this time. Thank you. Bye bye.